for this first video, I thought I would keep things fairly brief and just give you a little bit of backstory about my life. Now, I am 54 years old. I was born in 1966. I'm part of Generation X, and we are a generation of kids who certainly everywhere outside America grew up with very little knowledge of or interest in things like mental health. And so I went through the entire school system. I went to college. I went into the world of work and worked for various people. I had various jobs over the years, some contract, some salaried, and eventually in my mid-40s I basically came to the conclusion that I was pretty much unemployable, and I became self-employed, working alongside my wife, who is very employable and could easily work in an office environment for people, but she does this because she's good at it. So I ended up working with her. Ever since I got my very first school reports, I was told that I wasn't trying, I wasn't applying myself. I was told that I showed promise, that I was quite an intelligent kid, and that if I just tried harder, then I could succeed. And that was the case my entire life. And let me tell you, if you go through 50 odd years of your life of people telling you that you're a quitter, that you don't try, and that if you just applied yourself, you could do great things, then you feel pretty crap about yourself. And so, at the age of 53, I came to the conclusion that I was just one of life's arseholes. I'm the guy that manages to mess up every opportunity that comes their way. Then at the age of 53, I made a groundbreaking discovery. I read an article in the Guardian newspaper, and in that article, the writer was talking about ADHD. He's describing instances in his life where he was losing stuff constantly, where he had trouble focusing on anything, where sort of days would go past and nothing was getting done. And he listed all sorts of things in this article, and it really struck a chord with me. And I thought to myself, this sounds awfully like me. However, even though I saw this article, I didn't really pursue it too much at that point, but it sat there at the back of my mind. And then a couple of months later, I was browsing through Reddit, which is of course the scourge of the ADHD community. If ever there was a site that is like heroin to us, Reddit is it. It's distraction central, and I spend a lot of time cruising through the various subreddits on that site, reading stuff, and I chanced upon the ADHD subreddit one day. And for the first time in my life, I think, I actually read the rules of the subreddit in the sidebar on the website. And in there, the administrators and moderators of that particular subreddit said you should go and watch this video on YouTube. And so, unbelievably, I did. Now, the video in question was by a person called Dr. Russell Barkley, and if you have ADHD and you've been taking a little wander around YouTube, I suspect that name will be familiar to you, but it was a new one on me. And I watched a video. It was a kind of a compilation of footage of him talking at various ADHD symposiums, and my jaw hit the floor when I watched that video. It was a life-changing moment for me. When I watched it, I felt like Dr. Barkley was describing my life. It was spooky as hell. I couldn't believe all the stuff that he was describing that perfectly echoed my entire life. And I was just blown away by it. So I picked up my laptop and I rushed into the house where my wife Catherine was in bed, and I put the laptop down in front of her and took the book out of her hands and said, "You've got to watch this video." And I made her sit through it, and she said, "Yeah, there is probably something in this, but you need to do this properly. You need to find out for sure if you have ADHD. You need to seek professional diagnosis and find out if you have it." And that, of course, was an eminently sensible thing to say, and I did so. I went along to see my GP, and I said to him, look, I want to get to the bottom of what's going on in my life. Can you give me a referral to somebody who can test me for ADHD? And I was given a referral to a professor of psychiatry at one of the nearby universities, a clinical psychiatrist, and I made an appointment with him. And 3 months later, what can I tell you, he had a long waiting list. I went along and did a whole raft of tests with him, lots of paperwork, a very, very long interview talking about my life and the impacts that it had on my life, how it had been, what I got up to, if there was any criminality in my life. Spoiler alert, there was. And all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the interview, he said, yes, you 100% have ADHD. Now, when they hear this particular piece of information, this diagnosis, a lot of people, I'm told, and I've read since, a lot of adults getting this diagnosis go into a period of mourning. But I've got to tell you, I was fucking elated when I found out, because I finally had some goddamn answers to describe my life and how I behaved the way I did. It was absolutely amazing to me, and I still feel giddy even thinking about it, about the diagnosis I was given and everything I've learned about myself and my bloody brain since then. So this channel, which I'm kickstarting today with this little video, which goes under the name ADHD Army, I'll explain that in a second, is just about, just saw that screensaver out of the corner of my eye. That's a very ADHD thing to do. I should have a different backdrop behind me. I'll think of something else to put there rather than a stupid screensaver. So this little channel is for people with adult ADHD. Kind of people around my age, I guess, who are coming to this diagnosis later in life, like me, from a position of complete ignorance about ADHD, its symptoms, and the outcomes that it has forces on people's lives, the way it changes them and alters them, and let's be honest here, completely fucks them up. I want to discuss everything to do with adult ADHD, and for my fellow Generation X friends out there who've been diagnosed late in life like me, or might think you have it and haven't been diagnosed yet, maybe we'll help you get there and on your way to a diagnosis to find out for sure if you have it or not. Going to be talking about my life, the impacts that ADHD had on it. Going to be talking about the differences that have taken place since I got my diagnosis. Things like being given medication to take care of the focus associated with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and we'll talk about everything all around the subject of ADHD, all the stuff that's coming along, the news, the information, new treatments, the behavioral therapy, all that kind of stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to stick with this channel. Unlike most of the others I start, again, that is a very ADHD thing. We have intense interest in things for a short period of time and then we drop them like a bad habit, and that's certainly something that's happened all my life. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to stick with it this time with this channel and actually regularly release content for it. Now, please subscribe to the channel. It will encourage me to upload new videos to YouTube, and I look forward to discussing all of these matters with you guys in the future. Please comment on the video if you're a Gen X guy or gal who came to a ADHD diagnosis late in life like me. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.